You can hang out. Yay, thank you, Jake. All right. I can only see Rich and Justin, just so you know.
Well, at least you can see Rich. So,
and I think you guys can probably see each other, so you know what the screen looks like.
Yeah.
All right, friends. Well, thank you all. Thanks for jumping on. The purpose of this session is we've conceptually began to align some of our existing goals with the strategic plan of the city. And now what we intend to do, at least to get started today, and maybe assign in work that comes after this, I know that we have kind of a hard stop at 11:45 today, is that we'll maybe each take a chunk on and then think about what ways we can create some SMART goals, if you will, some measurable outcomes that are in the frame of this coming year around what we can do to support the strategic plan, and how that reflects. So Cody, I know you've been kind of in the know about what is, being asked and required. So does that kind of capture what we need to do? Just kind of set some measurable outcomes for each of these goals?
Justin, you don't even need to set measurable outcomes. There are groups who literally just have 2 goals that look something like maybe these: work to support human resource measures and recruitment. So in some ways, I think, so we don't over prescriptive, and maybe being over prescriptive would be helpful. I'm not sure. It's totally up to you guys. But we don't have to be super specific, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then we have a document where we've started all together, basically outlining what our priorities are in relation to how we align to each of the strategic plan goals for the city. So I guess what we could do, Cody, is just go maybe scroll through each one and then just kind of see what we need to do to tweak some of the things or add things. Does that sound good?
Yeah, I think that works great.
All right, everyone feel good about that? Alan?
One question before, actually, or maybe it's 1A and B. So, and if I'm piggybacking correctly on what Cody was saying, since we're supposed to come up with 2 to 3 goals, but it's not necessarily to be for every one of the city's priorities, it's just 2 to 3 goals total.
Yeah, there's no limit on how many goals you should have, but we should be reasonable about them. I imagine if council's asking for goals to align with the strategic plan, they may be asking for follow-up at the end of the year about how we did in achieving those goals, right? So I would say be mindful and develop goals that align with the strategic plan, but are also things that can be achieved in the next 8 months, 7 months.
And thanks, Cody. I think you're exactly right. And the ideal would be to find or develop one goal around each one of each priority. If it makes sense, there may be some priorities that, really don't fit for inclusivity. So,
yeah,
exactly. Thanks, Steve.
I might be jumping ahead a little bit here. Justin want to proceed in an orderly way. But the first 2 priorities, the suggested goals, particularly being involved with the human resources and on the police council, the oversight council. I think those suggested goals, I think they're all 3 good, solid goals. Where most of the activities that seem to talk about diversity and inclusion are with the cultural affairs, and there are no suggested goals there. And I wonder about focusing. I mean, I know we need to look at these suggested goals, and I like the way they're done. Cody, whoever did that, if it was you, then thank you.
It was Justin.
Okay, then thank you, Justin. But I'd like to look at how we might be involved with cultural affairs, which seems to me to be a better alignment.
Sure. Well, and Rich, I think, yeah, absolutely. We knew this wasn't finished. I gave some examples to start. So this is, I think that's our work. And if we want to start in cultural affairs and alignment, I think I'm perfectly fine with that. And then if we feel like we're getting a bulk of our goals that maybe, you know, we can't manage everything, then I'm totally fine with let's minimize and focus on priorities and what we feel we can do.
Well, I'm good actually with accepting the goals that you suggested in priority 1 and 2.
Okay.
Can we
So
quickly scroll through those?
Yeah. If you, Cody, could we just quickly scroll? So we've got priority 1, work to support human resource measure around recruitment. Basically, we'll serve on committees as asked. We've done that already. We continue to do that. Typically, they'll ask myself or someone else. And then I felt like meeting at least twice a year with HR staff, and that could be something I work with Cody to do, to support action items or at least get updates around how we're making sure that recruitment and retention is inclusive and diverse. So that was kind of my thinking there.
So I think that's pretty easily achievable, at least the second one.
And the first
I
one
think
is
we're
as
already
needed.
doing the first one, right? When they
Yeah,
hired
yeah.
Armando, you
Yeah.
Justin sat on that group.
Yep, and-
Police chief, Miguel
Yeah.
sat on that, you know.
Yeah.
The twice a year, Armando is, I haven't introduced you all to Armando, but he's on my list of things that will come to this board. And he's working with HR on our hiring practices. So I think easily Armando could come twice a year and we could talk mostly about that and some other things he's doing, and those goals will be achieved.
Okay, sounds good.
Excellent.
Everyone feel good about that?
Thumbs up.
Okay,
Thumbs up.
all right.
I can't
We'll move in. Let's go. All right, so 2, so this was around connecting the city's populations with local, regional, state, and national sources. And then it talked a little bit about policing and then enforcement as required. We're already hitting this goal, so that's an easy goal to attain. Maintain a representative to serve on the Chief of Police Community Advisory Board that meets monthly or whenever. I think it is monthly, is that correct?
Bi-monthly.
Bi-monthly, so.
That seems like a no-brainer since we're already doing it.
Yeah.
What struck me about that goal was, or opportunity, was that Alan has been doing a lot of work with homeless, and there may be an objective we want to set there that relates to this performance and outcome measures or focused objectives that Alan would be willing to help with.
I mean, that's part of 2.3C, Steve, right? You've got 5% reduction in homeless individuals year over year, starting in 2024. So I think that directly relates to something like, you know, this could be Alan. I mean, we don't have to put you specifically, but it could indicate maybe you're an ambassador to the people who address, do they call them navigators? The navigators. So that maybe we meet routinely with navigators. A representative meets routinely with navigators to report on areas of focus and support around homelessness and what we can do to help. Something like that.
Yes, if you would like something like that. So I do meet with the 2 navigators. Or sometimes I have actually meetings with them, maybe 4 times a year, but I do interact with them. And also to let you know, we are working on, through Westminster Foundation, the city should be well aware of this. And the people, the city manager knows, the head of Parks and Recreation and Library knows, and Kate Scarbeck knows. So we have, we've put together a study group already to look into city best practices, what we could do, what we can propose. So even though I started with Inclusivity Board, I was approached by the Westminster Legacy Foundation to put together and to work with them a study group. So that's already in the works. And what I can do is I can just, as we have information, report back to Inclusivity Board where we might be. We are at the very beginning right now with various stakeholders.
I love that, Alan. And see, these are goals that are attainable because we're already working through some of them. So to Steve's point as well. So, and then of course that study piece could be a part of like what the outcome is that comes from that work that you're doing. I know you started kind of from inclusivity, but yes, this is where that ambassador aspect came in, and we can talk. I know you and I were going to talk offline, and Steve, maybe we can all schedule a quick like meeting or even meet before the next IB meeting, and we can talk through what the ambassador program entails. I'm fine with whatever you want, but yeah, I think that's good. Does everyone feel comfortable with that as a goal set for priority 2? Okay. Thanks, Cody, for capturing that in words. All right, we'll scroll to our next priority. Shared sense of community. Just looking at this, ensuring the continuation of a diverse mix of community-oriented events and programs that make Westminster unique and provide a strong sense of community. Foster a well-informed citizenry by providing outreach, education, and opportunities to engage with the community. Ensure city processes are equitable, inclusive, and welcoming to all people. So, you know, this is going back to Rich. This is the crux of our work, if you will. So, you know, keeping these kind of conceptual, but at the same time, like, how do we measure their success? Like, if you look at our previous goals, there are clear outcomes and guidelines that say, have we done this? Are we successful in doing this? You know, like the study group that Alan has created as a result of the work that he's done to represent inclusivity. So I'd say let's maybe tackle these sort of by 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3 and just kind of look at them. And we may have 1 or 2 goals that capture all of them, but let's make sure that we look at that. So ensure the continuation of a diverse mix of community-oriented events and programs. So we actually had some real strong partnership with our, it was at the time under Rich Newman. I think that's changed to cultural affairs. Is that correct? The cultural affairs office. He was Parks and at that one point. So I'm wondering if some language around, you know, partnering with cultural affairs to ensure that inclusivity and diversity is represented at all city events, you know, and programs. Or, you know, how do we quantify that at city events and programs? I mean, I think it should be all, but you know, that's a, you can never get 100% on everything, but we want to make sure we're successful. How do we measure that? And what does partnering look like? Is it meeting with them routinely? Like, do we meet with them, you know? Is there a planning committee?
No, there's not. And unfortunately, it's a tiny staff, and I'm going to just be, you know, they're pretty overloaded this year with Rich's departure. The team is down, you know, a pretty hefty part. I think that's like a third maybe of the team. So they're very busy. And I know that they've asked for our input or inclusivity board's input or recommendations when it comes to some of the bigger events where they invite in other vendors and performers and things like that. So maybe that's to be successful this year and not put any pressure, additional pressure. I mean, they're already working on this, but maybe it's something like act as a resource for the cultural affairs team to include diversity and inclusivity in city events or something like that.
I mean, I think partner is like, we can support them, you know, too. Like, so partner is like, we are not demanding that they do anything additional, but act as a resource, that's fine. But that feels like then it becomes passive. Because then it's
I mean, I'm just thinking previous years and how some of those conversations have gone. And now knowing that they're short another person, I guess I'm being a little mindful of the staff and what their capacity is.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I wonder, Justin, I mean, a lot of what you're saying, you take took the words right out of my mouth. How do we measure this? And I'm wondering about, can we give them more support by exploring the idea of a citizen arts and cultural council? And I don't want to be too grandiose about it. Or if it's necessary to rise to the level of the board or commission. But I wonder if that's something to explore that could be supportive for them, that could take some work off of their desks, and do it in a way that's balanced enough that it doesn't intrude on their on their work as well. I'm not sure quite how to approach that, but a citizen arts and cultural council might be something to look at. Again, I'm not sure this is the place to do it, but
I would suggest pausing on that for a little bit till they get a little bit more steam. I should add that part of the team's planning process, there's a gentleman on the team who works on their sponsorship, and because they're not many of the city's events they're not just a budgeted item. There has to be sponsorship, which to support the activity, which sometimes limits. And they've worked on that too. Council's brought that up. How to include more. Maybe there's different rates for local businesses or things like that. So this is definitely a regular conversation with city council. This to the point, Justin, about measuring. How do you measure these things? We can talk about it in the way of vendors and performers or things like that, but it's much harder when it comes to participants, because then we're starting to get into people's personal data points and not, you don't, it's like peeing phones. You cross a line at some point with Big Brother that we're not comfortable crossing, but those conversations have been had with council too, which is why these goals look like this.
How about act as a resource and support? I act as a resource and actively support the cultural affairs team. Maybe that's, to me, that feels a little less passive.
I like that.
So I guess I want to know how we're going to actively support them.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the things that I would like to do is I would reach out to whoever is currently in charge and say, listen, we're here to support you. These are the things we've done in the past. I know that, is it Kate that's kind of taking some of that on right now? Or who is it?
It's Leah and Michaela are the event planners. Yeah. And Kate oversees historical landmark board.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So Leah and Michaela, we do have an established partnership with them to an extent. So just kind of reaching out, I could just kind of reach out and say, hey, we know you're in a time of transition. We've still got events coming up. What can we do to help?
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I just want to be mindful of we don't unintentionally put in extra.
Yes. No, I understand. Yeah,
yes.
So completely. So Alan, yes.
So, and to be mindful of what Cody is saying, we do have the North Metro Arts Alliance, and they do a lot of cultural things in the area, and they partner with the city, Highland Hills Park and Rec, Westminster Public Schools. That might be, do you think that's a better way to go? And that way we're not putting anything on the cultural committee, because maybe the cultural committee also is doing something with North Metro Arts Alliance. I don't know.
No, they're an external organization and we have representatives to them, but we should stay city focused organization.
Yeah, and Rich and I have served on that board of North Metro.
Yeah.
And they have
and Councillor Emmons does as a representative of the city, and I think Kate also attends those meetings as a representative of the city right now.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Rich, go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say, having served on that board, that they have their limits as well. I think having those connections, which are already there, is good. But focusing on our Cultural Affairs Council and the city, I think, is a good suggestion from Cody.
Yeah. Okay. All right, everyone feel good with this from where we are? And okay. And then foster a well-informed citizenry, 3.2. Rich, were you going to say something?
Nope.
Okay. Foster a well-informed citizenry by providing outreach, education, and opportunities to engage with the community, 3.2. So I'll just give a little historical perspective, and Rich, you can chime into this, Cody certainly as well. I know in the past, like the Inclusivity Board has fostered like a reception for Welcoming America. Like we've done like things like, you know, how do we bring people together? We've held community panels that were actually pretty profound and powerful in a lot of ways. Rich, you were a part of those when we did those years ago. But, you know, how do we help support that 3.2, fostering a well-informed citizenry? I know Doug and other board members who are no longer with us on this board have attempted to create like a list or kind of like look at a list so that we can provide that on our website and get that information out to our citizens, work actively with libraries. So any thoughts about what we might do as a goal around this specific area?
I'm going to go with not welcoming America.
Yeah, no, I just given an example.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
No, but like, you know, it could be like, hey, let's facilitate, you know, a dinner in the park or something and see if we can, you know, connect people. I don't know, you know, things like that, but I'm open to whatever. Yeah. So
I just want to make sure that that one didn't get.
Yeah.
When I read that one, I went, boy, this is one of the most ambitious in terms of performance and outcome measures.
Yeah.
And maybe, I know community engagement is short on staff, but maybe we could fill some of the holes in the meantime. Like, for example, you know, I go to my HOA board meetings every other month. Certainly can get something on the agenda to talk about inclusivity and what we're trying to do. Maybe, you know, we could talk to them at the very least and see if there's an opportunity that we can support their efforts, because those are, I mean, they're going to have to hit 40 HOAs and I don't know how many neighborhood organizations, but it's going to be a lot. So
yeah.
So community engagement is separate from cultural affairs.
okay.
I know it's confusing. They used to be together, but they're separate. They were separate, they were together, and then they're separate again. And community engagement is a person, I think some of you've met Kit. He's our community outreach liaison. He works with the cultural affairs team, with parks, with community development, and he sort of supports and or arranges events and activities needed for the department. So like the big the ice cream social that was at Irving Street Library and also, or park, and then also at Swim and Fit a couple weeks ago. Kit helped with a lot of that and like the invitations and making that happen. So he's very big in this. He met with Highland Greens, met with council on Tuesday night. Kit was there. So this is an initiative. So I would say if we're going to put something in here, it would be something that we could support Kit. You know, maybe it's helping him, I don't know, identify people to invite to things. I'm not quite sure. I know that he's pretty far underway with this. He also manages council's outreach. So
Well, I wonder if we don't similarly do something along the lines of the language of the first thing that is under priority 3, act as a resource and actively support, you know, community engagement team to reach out to local neighborhoods, because their goal is, you know, outreach programs with 25% of Westminster's 160 HOA, you know, that's their outcome. And then outreach to 25% of identified neighborhoods. We might be able to serve as ambassadors to those neighborhoods. We may be able to like go out, but we could talk with Kit and partner with him and see what we could do to support. And maybe, you know, he would want, hey, maybe Inclusivity Board could sponsor 3 community dinners at like, you know, 3 churches or places of worship or whatever. I don't know, like that we could look at, because, you know, I think I talked to Alan or someone around, you know, community places of community worship are often really nice places to go and and reach people and connect with people. And I know that's Rich, that's a big foundation for you. You know, so maybe some of those things we could look at with Kit and kind of follow his lead a little bit. I don't know. Does that seem appropriate?
Mm-hmm.
Cody, do you feel good with that?
Yes.
I mean, with what you just typed?
It's pretty vague, but you know.
Well, because I guess what the first step will be reaching out to these people and then creating action steps as a board about what we can do to help. I think that's going to be key in my mind because right now we're kind of conceptual, but I still want to have measurable, specific benchmarks of success on how we achieve these goals, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And goals should be broad. I think there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
The way they should work. Yeah.
But outcomes should be specific, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I agree. Okay. Does everyone feel good with that one?
Mm-hmm.
And ensure city processes are equitable, inclusive, and welcoming to all people. Planning per average rating.
Can I unshare my screen for a second so I can go find out
Sure.
what Q21.2 is? Sorry, there's a newer version of this document now. Council approved an updated version of the strategic plan while we were starting
Drafting.
our goals. It was all at the same time. So let me see if I know that I have a document with the language in it, but you also probably don't need to get sick with my scrolling through 1,000 things and seeing all the city files.
Yeah.
Cody, you deserve 2 screens. At least, maybe 3.
Right.
Oh, why is there? Oh, somebody's calling me. You can also see. Oh, you can't because I'm not sharing my screen anymore. It looks like somebody's also calling me on this phone at the same time.
I can't.
What is this one again? Number 3?
Yeah, 3.3, I think.
3.3. Oh, it just says Westminster Community Survey. Okay, hold on.
Yeah, I wonder if the goal we've already stated covers that.
Yeah. It may, because that seems a little bit more like improving survey data. And if we do some of the work on the first 2 sub indicators, if you will, it feels like that could help improve those data. Would I be correct in that?
Yeah, that would be my guess because it's the Westminster survey, this is actually the Westminster Community Survey. So I'm gonna type that in there. And I think we left the goal as it is, but I was trying to figure out what the background is.
Okay. Well, if you all feel like we're capturing some of these things, you know, and we can move on to area 4.
So the goal that measure in the community survey is please rate the following statements by circling the number of most clearly represents your opinion. The city of Westminster provides an opportunity for all voices to be heard and draws upon community diversity and decision making. So it's definitely
Neighborhood
sort of
outreach
perception, and so that more neighborhood, outreach and connecting, I think, achieves that goal.
Yeah. Okay.
Good.
Sounds good.
Oh, I wonder if that was the mayor. Well, guess we'll find out.
On hold.
All right, can you see the screen again? Ooh.
Yeah, we can.
Okay,
Looks good.
great. There we go. Okay.
Okay.
All right, number 4.
Moving to 4.
Oh, 4 had a lot.
Yeah. And really, I think this is a passion area, I know, for Rich, for myself, but this is, about 4.3, expand and leverage partnerships with organizations such as, and this goes to what I think Alan had talked about a little bit too, such as North Metro Arts Alliance that support the arts, libraries, and Westminster's history to maximize residents, businesses, and visitors' access to these amenities throughout the city. And that's cultural affairs. Use arts and culture to enrich the human experience, celebrate diversity, and attract, engage, and support artists and makers. that's important. And then could you scroll down the other two, Cody, just so we can kind of see?
I'm sorry, I'm gonna,
that was it.
I have to step
So,
away for a second, but you guys keep going, okay?
okay, sure. We can think we've got enough information to be dangerous here. So, Rich, what would maybe be something we haven't really talked beyond the events? We haven't really talked about what our role is, and I don't disagree with you. I think that maybe, you know, in this sort of, it's meta external in a way, because I think a cultural affairs committee of citizens would be powerful within the construct of where we are, though, and that could be an outcome of, you know, our representation. What can we as an existing board do to support the diversity of arts? And also, I mean, because I think affordability and a lot of different things come into play when it comes to how do we not only attract, but then maintain a presence of artists in our community, right? You know this, being that you have had a studio space and you've navigated a lot of those different things. So what would you say would be a real key goal? And anyone else who may or may not be artists, I don't know if you know, but Rich is a celebrated artist in our local area, and a writer, and does a lot of different things. So and beyond. So yeah, what are your thoughts?
Well, I don't know who's celebrating. But,
I am.
oh, good. Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts around these. You know, in terms of what we're doing here today, again, our previous goal might cover this, but it's a lot to be covered.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I do see that a city citizen arts council might be beyond our scope, but that seems to be what this calls for.
Yeah.
So
I don't disagree.
yeah,
Yeah.
so,
I mean,
so I'm not sure how to approach that.
Could we, as a beginning step, set a goal of creating a subcommittee, basically, of us to look at how we can support arts and culture, and the goal and strategic plan of the city? It's such a large area that maybe that's a realistic goal for us, as opposed to we're going to attend 25 events or something.
Yeah. I think that's a good suggestion, Steve. I mean, there is so much, and having sort of almost been forced to engage with other communities in these areas, I really see how deficient Westminster is. We've got some stuff going on, but compared to our surrounding communities, we're kind of a desert, frankly. So, you know, anything we can do to encourage more of that instead of just vesting in what's there, I think would be a plus. But again, that's a big ask.
Yeah. So maybe it's like for us, because this is such a big one. And so Cody, while you were gone, we talked about, you know, we can't do things outside of our purview. We have to really focus on inclusivity and diversity. And so, you know, while several of us who are artists in the community feel like the cultural affairs could benefit from a board, that's not our call, and they don't have that, and we'd have to partner with them anyway. And we feel like some of our goals that we've already outlined may well address some of the things here and for. Steve made actually a really good suggestion, I thought, is to maybe create a subcommittee to explore how Inclusivity board could better partner with cultural affairs to help support the arts and diversity, or something of that nature. Steve, did I capture that correctly?
Yeah, exactly. Good work, Justin. Nailed it.
Every once in a while. What I say is, you know, even a broken clock is right twice a day. So.
And you know, also, if to interject, a lot of things with priority 3, the shared sense of community, and priority 4, they kind of mesh together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
I like the idea of a subcommittee going out there, because I like the idea of going out and I would like to in fact, I contacted a friend of mine who speaks Thai, and I asked her, does that work with Hmong? And she said, not really. I was hoping, even though there are
Yeah.
Hmong people who grew up in Thailand, so they would speak Thai.
Yeah.
But I think reaching out to the individual communities
Mhm.
and doing something culturally so people understand. We have the Sikh or the Sikh, however you want to pronounce,
Mhm.
the community more up north, just to learn about each of the cultures and maybe with community events. When we were talking about using the faith-based communities, because they're a source, they're a center of activity. It does not, of course, have to be religious, and they have large rooms to bring people together
Right.
for
Right.
specific events. And I
Yeah.
would like to actually be able to go into some of the communities and work with them and say, can we do something culturally with you to bring in the rest of the community, even if that's something as small as a quote unquote neighborhood block party.
Mhm.
Yeah. Good point. Okay. Well, I believe we've covered all the priorities. Am I correct with this, Cody?
There's one more, but I think it's all infrastructure. Bleh.
Yeah.
So-
I don't think we complete updates to the comprehensive plan and include elements that reflect how our residents and businesses want to create our community. I think, this is comprehensive plan updates by end of September 30th for ensuring comprehensive plan is around affordable housing. Yeah, so this is a big one. This is why we included it. That was the one strand that we felt like did hit our inclusivity piece. I know that, Rich has done a lot of work around this. Alan, you've done a lot of work around this from different perspectives. What would be maybe a goal for us that we could support the city in realizing? Well, it looks like they're right now creating they've already, technically, I guess they've got the comprehensive plan updated by the end of September.
Yeah, it
They're-
is. It wasn't quite the end of September, but it is
Yeah,
updated.
yeah. And then the housing needs assessment update completed by December 31st, 2023. So that would be the end of this year. So really, it sounds like it's more data collection than anything else at this point.
It is.
Yeah, so they're still identifying what the issues are and how the city can be proactive, I think. And so likely to me, it seems to me that this strategic plan would be broadened in 24 to 2024 to include some more specific issues around housing and affordability.
But I'm not sure how we would come in here, but when it says completing updates, reflecting how our residents and businesses want to create our community, and then under the focused objectives, reflective and responsive to the future needs of our community. In terms of inclusivity, my question is, where are those data coming from? Are those data inclusive?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how
Yeah,
we can
I
ensure
think
that.
the performance. So the staff focus is mostly on the performance outreach and outcome measures. Like those are the
Mhm.
tasks and the work they're doing to
Mhm.
achieve the middle column. And the first column is what council drafted, right? So the second column, staff, although council has approved all these, the second
Mhm.
staff driven, the second and third are staff driven. Does that make sense? So
Mm-hmm.
the first step for economic development is to do this needs assessment so they can address the objectives, right? Does that make sense? Lots of
It
water
does.
study and resources were done to draft the updated comprehensive plan,
It does, and those are necessary. But then I come back to, are those inclusive?
Yeah, are the ways that we're getting that survey out there inclusive, like right, Rich, like are the methods, the people that we're reaching out to, are they inclusive? The methodology is kind of what I'm thinking,
Right.
like, how are we getting that out there,
Yes.
right? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
Yes.
How about I just send an email to economic development and ask them that?
That'd be great.
Because I don't know that we're going to be able to play in this lane.
Yeah. No, but I think that's yeah, and that's okay, but it would be helpful, I think, to Rich's point. It's like, oh yeah, so we know that this is going out in 76 different ways to these things. So that
Right.
gives us a little more information, because eventually we'll want to look at these data, I'm sure, as citizens or residents of this community. I mean, I know I will, to kind of help figure out what we can do to support.
Yeah. I can ask Lindsay. I don't know where they are on it, but
Thank you, Cody.
let me just ask that.
So
And
maybe
get
we
that
can
back to
put, maybe we don't put anything in this for now.
Yeah.
And we can just say, maybe it's just like tabled until data are collected or something like that, yeah. But at least we know it's on our purview, and let's see if we can get some clarification. And then Rich, I think that's a great point. Thank you for bringing that.
And Cody, you just offered to do what I was going to suggest, which is the least we could do is reach out to economic development and community development and say, hey, we're very interested in the results of this, and we want
Yes.
to give you some
Yep.
feedback at some point.
Yeah, it's a nice reminder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So generally it's better for staff liaisons to be reaching out to our colleagues to find those pieces of information, than having board members or like council doesn't reach out to staff directly. They have a protocols around that. So
Sure.
everything goes sort of through the staff liaisons
Yeah.
in the case of boards and commissions. So
Thank you,
Cody,
if somebody wants to
Cody's our
draft a
filter.
question and send it to me, I'm happy
Yeah.
to forward it.
Yeah.
That makes my life a little easier. Then I know exactly what you're
Yeah.
looking for.
Okay.
Great. And she can keep us out of trouble. She's done that to me a few times. So, yeah. So,
Well,
okay.
Having worked for a city at one point, staff is swamped. And
Yeah.
if they
Yeah.
can control the inputs, which is what Cody is saying, at
Yeah.
least the boards and commissions can then focus on, well, how do we support the staff? Because
Yeah.
that's a big part of what we should be doing, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. And Cody, thank you for your time. I know you're crunched this week, so appreciate you. Thank you all.
I get to sit here for 3 more hours and talk to
good.
students who want
Woohoo.
scholarships. So
Yay. Well, I mean, that can be fun though, right?
it is
That'll
fun.
be
They're
fun.
very
Yeah.
sweet. Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
Well,
But that also
all
means,
of
you know, adjusting all the fluids, making sure snacks are available.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lunch time.
Steve, Alan, Rich, thank you for your passion, and thank you for
Yeah, thank
spending
you.
some time. I feel like this was productive. It gives us some guidance, and then we can really delve into what our next steps are around some of the outreach. And Cody, I'll work with you a little offline to start like pushing forward to cultural affairs and trying to figure out, without, being another thing they have to do, what can we do to take something off of them, that type of thing, and see what we can do to
Yeah.
support. So
I'd be very happy
Great.
to liaise with them if need be. So
great.
again, not to add stuff to their plates.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, none of us want that, but we've had such a good relationship. We want to continue that if we can. So.
Yep.
Great.
So
All right.
thank you. Good
Thank
navigating.
All right,
you.
Kristen.
Cody. Yeah, thank
Good
you all,
meeting
Cody.
you
You feel
guys.
good? Are we good? Where we are
Yeah,
then?
I'm gonna send and see if there's any way we can. I don't think the packet has gone out with these yet, so I'm gonna see if we can
Okay.
replace. But I don't. They may say no, but just in case, I'll send it over to Abby now and say any way we can have this version included, since it's a little bit more thorough.
Great.
Thanks, Cody.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks, friends. All right. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Enjoy your day.